Hey, welcome to the Monday Morning Show. We're your hosts, Ryan Hensley, Ryan G. Hensley, Grant L. Cohn. Talk about Brock Purdy today, Trey Lance. And we're going to
Yeah.
be comparing the Niners to other teams in the NFC West at specific important positions. We know the Niners dominate at certain positions, but I want to compare with other ones. I want to start with Brock Purdy today. A lot of these shows are just the Trey Lance hour. And I
Yeah.
think we should probably talk about Brock. And I think let's start here. A lot
BCB.
of people, BCB, when they talk about Brock, it's all very much like, well, he's on track to start week one. And the Niners say he's going to start week one. So I essentially have to assume he's going to be starting week one. To me, that's not necessarily a logical assumption because the Niners say a quarterback is going to be back when they say he's going to be back at that time. I mean, don't we remember, like Trey Lance, for example? He broke his ankle and then he needed another surgery because the first one didn't quite work just perfectly. And it took him a little longer than expected to come back. And they didn't figure that out until deep into the rehab process. So it took 2 surgeries for Trey Lance to make a full recovery, which is where he's at now. And then with Jimmy Garoppolo, he hurt his foot, ankle, whatever. And the Niners thought he might come back for the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. He had another surgery after that and still hasn't passed a physical. Still, he may never pass a physical with the Raiders, might get cut. So excuse me if I'm a little skeptical when the Niners give me a timetable for a quarterback's recovery. Coming off a serious surgery. Who's to say, like, a day before the season starts, they're like, you know what? Setback. Yeah. It just happened out of nowhere. It's the funniest thing. We're going to go a little slow with him. To me, there's one quarterback on this team who's made a full recovery right now is Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. Until I hear that Brock Purdy has made a full recovery, I'm just going to assume he's not starting week one. That's my new stance. I'm not assuming he's starting week one. These are the 49ers we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, my prediction has been for a long time that Trey Lance is going to start week one because I think, he may be healthy, like 100%, throwing 100% by week one. But I still think you need 2-3 weeks. And I think Kyle Shanahan has said that, or at least hinted at that, before you can actually just throw you out there in a game. So I've 187 here in the chat. We made a wager about it. Like I just think that
187,
the Purdy stand of the year, man. My guy, 187. He's been saying Purdy week one, Purdy dog, and hopefully he is recovered. I think from a political standpoint, it would be best if Brock Purdy started week one, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be healthy around week one, but I think he needs 2-3 weeks of practice at 100% before they throw him out there. And I actually think Kyle's going to use this as an excuse to see Trey Lance one more time.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just don't trust whatever the Niners process is for rehabilitating quarterbacks or anyone really. So until I hear that a player is 100% back and ready, I'm just going to assume something's going to happen at some point. It's a Niners. Yeah. I don't know why. All I know is that Jimmy still hasn't gotten a dime from the Raiders because he can't pass a physical because of the injury that he sustained with the 49ers that they thought wasn't that big of a deal. Remember that one guy who really likes spreadsheets who was like adamant that he was going to come back in 6 weeks because bones heal in 6 weeks? Well, guess not. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, man. Trey Lance had to have a second surgery. Niners are real eager and like really pushing Brock. He's going to be back and he's going to be back. Okay, man. First of all, that could be all gamesmanship anyway. It could be, let's talk about Brock all offseason, knowing that there's like a 3% chance he'll start week one. And if it's Trey or someone else, then like, good. No one was thinking about that guy. Just like no one was thinking about Brock when he became the quarterback. There was no book on Brock when he started playing. He was just an unknown. Everyone was caught by.
I mean, I'm obviously I'm not a doctor, obviously, just in case you guys didn't know that, but I am not a doctor. But I will say that it just seems it would be really remarkable to me. You go down with that injury in what was it, February or late January, right? Mm-hmm. And you're starting week one. It just doesn't make sense to me that could be a possibility. So I never thought it was going to happen. I've been saying because of that, I think Trey Lance is going to start week one for a long time. And I hope Brock recovers. There's no setbacks and he gets to 100%. But I think even if he's 100% for week one, he still needs to get in the rhythm of the game. He hasn't been able to play competitive football of any kind. No OTAs, no training camp. I mean, we'll see if he's able to participate in this training camp at all, but I wager he's not going to be participating in this training camp. And I just don't think you just throw the guy out there. I don't think that's fair to Brock Purdy to just throw him out there. Oh, you're healthy? Okay, we play on Sunday. Get ready, buddy. Like, I just don't see that.
Yeah, it just feels like they're not going to do it. They may say they're going to do it, but I don't think they're going to do it. And also, I would just be so impressed if the Niners could actually get Brock Purdy fully healthy by week 1. It doesn't seem like something they're capable of doing. I would bet against him. If this were a bet, you could wager on in Vegas. Will Brock Purdy be fully healthy week 1? I would smash the no. Yeah. Simply because of the team he plays for. If he were on another team, that'd be a different story. But I mean, look, compare it to Jimmy last year, right? Jimmy had that whatever surgery. What did he have? Yeah, that procedure with his shoulder.
Yeah.
He had his procedure before Brock had his. He wasn't ready week 1.
No. I mean,
no.
Yeah, Kyle has a bad reputation, honestly, of rushing, particularly quarterbacks, back quickly. You would think he would try to do everything he could to fix that. I mean, look at the whole RG3 thing, what he did with RG3. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's the thing. When Trey Lance went down, Kyle Shanahan immediately adamant, no, he's done for the year. We'll see him next year. But now with Brock, it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna be back week 1, starting week 1. I don't see it. I think he's gonna be smart and avoid that controversy, because what if he comes out and he looks like just noodle arm?
What if he's just not ready? What if he needs more than 3 weeks of prep to get ready for the season, like most players?
Yeah. I think it could be a mistake.
Is it possible that Kyle Shanahan's doing what he did a couple of years ago when he let everyone think he was going to draft Mac Jones? Is it possible he hears all the noise? Maybe some of it's coming from his own organization saying he's going to start Brock Purdy week 1. And he's like, all right, like, you guys can think that if you want. And there's a possibility that he will start week 1. But if he doesn't start week 1 and I start Trey Lance, no one will be prepared for that. And I'm open to doing that. I mean, again, 2 quarterbacks on this team are coming off surgery, Lance and Purdy. One of them has fully recovered. That's the guy who's the leader in the clubhouse to me.
Yeah.
Once Brock Purdy is fully recovered, that's different. But that hasn't happened yet. And these are the 49ers we're talking about. And Trey Lance, it took him a long time and at least one setback that we know of.
And here's the thing, too. Like, when do you think we're going to hear from Kyle Shanahan who's starting week 1? On the Friday before
week
the game?
1. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's playing it like that this year. That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Yeah. And it does give him a competitive advantage. And no, Kyle Shanahan never comes out and speaks against narratives, national narratives. He doesn't do that. He doesn't see a benefit in it. And unless there's a benefit to winning games, he's not going to do it. And
if you don't have a starting quarterback and you have a quarterback room and it's like quarterback musical chairs, I guess that's not an advantage. That's not what you want. But if that's what you got, it's probably their best play to not tell people.
Yeah.
Or, tell them and let them be wrong. Yeah, it's Brock. If he's healthy, which he probably won't be. But he's on schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here's my prediction, Grant. They're gonna keep saying Brock Purdy's gonna be our week 1 starter. Everything's on pace. And then we're gonna get to like the week or 2 before, when you guys start having press conferences and you're going to be asking them these questions, and they're going to be saying, oh, it's kind of day to day right now. He's right on pace. We think we could play him, but it's kind of day to day. We'll see. We'll let you guys know when you need to know. He's going to play it out to the last minute, man. And then Trey Lance is going to be your week 1 starter.
I'm just trying to pull back for a second. Like, a lot of people who think they're skeptical and realists trust that the 49ers can get Brock Purdy back on the field as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. When did they ever do that? That's not what the Niners do. They try to get a guy back on the field as soon as possible. They mess it up. He has a setback. And 97% of the time, that's what happens when the Niners are rehabbing a player. So if they can do it without any setbacks, I'll give them a standing ovation.
And here's another part to it, Grant. Brock Purdy's decision on this is another part too. He has to think of his long-term career. And if he's not feeling 100% ready and comfortable and like prepared, I really think Brock Purdy and his camp are smart enough to say, hold on a second. We're going to take it slow. We got to think of his long-term career. because they don't. Because how disaster would it be for Brock Purdy if he comes out before he's ready, not just necessarily from a health standpoint, from a preparation standpoint, and he goes out there and lays an egg and looks awful. How bad would
Why
that
would you
be
do that to him? It's a long season. It's 18 weeks plus playoffs.
Everyone's going to play.
We've heard Kyle and Brian Greasy kind of allude to this. Like, it's a long season and you don't have to race to they've started slow the last 2 years and still made it to the NFC Championship game. I don't think they're really concerned about having a slow start. They could have a slow start with any quarterback. What matters is that Brock Purdy or someone of these 3 quarterbacks is rolling once November starts.
Right. And Brock Purdy, I mean, how did he have his success last year? He came in, week 13? The team was already rolling and grooving, and he had plenty of time to prepare, and that's how he had his success. So you're saying he's going to –
why not recreate that? It's not really about September.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and everyone's going to play. All these quarterbacks are going to play. Like, I'm convinced all 3 of these damn quarterbacks are going to play this year. I'm convinced. At least 2.
Yeah, so, like, who's going to be the last man standing? Probably not the first man playing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's the 49ers.
Be the hero at the end. When you want to play quarterback for the 49ers, it's going into the playoffs. That's when you want to step in. You know? Like, who cares about the other stuff?
Yeah, so if there's a quarterback competition in training camp, you want to lose that.
Right.
It was Jimmy Garoppolo would try as hard as bless his heart.
Right. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs regardless of who the quarterback is. I really believe that. So why not just, hey, if I'm one of the quarterbacks, I want to be there week 17, week 16. That's when I want to start playing, not week 1. I could care less about week 1.
Honestly, if I were Brock, what I'd be wanting to do is exactly what I did last year. Like, shelve me, put me on HUP, give me some time, bring me on, like, let me play December and on. Like, that's all you need me for. It worked last year. Like, you don't need me to be freaking. What were you like? You started off 3. You're usually like 3-3 at a certain point, 3-4, and then you work it out. Like, just bring me in out of the bullpen in the 6th inning, and I'll be the closer. You're not paying me anything. Like, I'm getting essentially football minimum wage over here. Shelve me.
And Brock has really, I mean, the only thing Brock has to worry about is just a very unlikely scenario that Trey Lance starts week 1 and stays healthy for the entire season. And knock on wood, man, I hope whoever the quarterback is this year does that. I would love that. It's just, if you look at what's happened for the 49ers, it just seems very unlikely. So, and Brock Purdy, there's no competition for Brock Purdy. All he has to do is be ready, and he's QB1 according to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. So he's not competing for QB2. He's not competing for QB3. He's QB1 when he's ready to go. So just wait till you're 100% ready, man. Like, that's what, if he was my kid or my friend, I would tell him, think about your long-term career, dude. You don't want to go out there until you're ready.
No, absolutely. Khalil Kemp says, Grant, I think your theory with Brock starting week 1 is correct. Kyle is going to make a quarterback switch in the middle of the season, which is why he's pushing Purdy to be ready week 1 in the media. I agree. It seems to me that Kyle is not as married to Brock as everyone else in the organization is, and his attitude is, Brock can start if he's ready week 1. If not, it could be someone else. And who's to say I'll bench that guy? Like, when has Kyle ever benched a quarterback? He loses quarterbacks to injuries all the time, but he doesn't necessarily pull the plug on them himself. So
yeah. I mean, that's a crazy conspiracy. Is it? I mean, he brought up a crazy conspiracy theory there. Does he want to start Brock Purdy week 1 because he knows he probably won't make it and he really wants to finish with Trey or Sam? I don't know. I don't know if I buy into that, but I think
is the theory that he wants to start Trey or Sam, and that thing for Brock is you could play, but only if you're ready week 1. So you better hurry it up. And it's not us pushing you. It's like, do you want to play this year? Because I like Trey Lance a lot still, even though I can't say that publicly. I still do. I think he might. And he also likes Sam Darnold too. So
it's crazy to think about the unlimited possibilities of what happens at the quarterback position this year, because if Trey Lance starts and he stays healthy, he could take the reins and Brock Purdy can never play another snap for the 49ers again. And vice versa. If Brock Purdy starts, we may never see Trey Lance play for the 49ers again in the regular season. Or all 3 of them could play. Brandon Allen could freaking play and win the Super Bowl. It's just
that we could be doing this dance for a few more years because all of them are cheap. The Niners don't really invest in pass protection. Colt McKivit's a right tackle. Quarterbacks go down all the time over here. I mean, it could be, Trey Lance is looking great. He's had a good 2 months. Oh, he's hurt. Oh, here comes Sam Darnold. He's looking great. He's hurt. Yeah. Oh, here's Brock. He's starting. He's hurt. Here, Trey Lance is coming back. I mean, we could do this for years, man.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah. Or Kirk Cousins. We're going to be talking Kirk Cousins next year.
I haven't watched that show yet. I know everyone's liking Kirk Cousins right now, but
I like Kirk Cousins right now. That's weird. I would take him.
Spoke to him one time on a conference call when he was with Minnesota, and I thought he was the most down to earth superstar quarterback ever. Yeah. I don't know if it was an act, but
he seems like a cool dude. He was like getting like he was getting like electrodes attached to his brain. Like he goes all in. Like he was like trying to train his brain to process. This thing on his head. He's all in, man. I'm a much bigger fan of. I was actually never a fan of Kirk Cousins. Now I'm a little bit of a fan of Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Joshua Wyatt says we should be asking if Brock should even start, because if you start him over a guy you invested the farm in, you are calling him a franchise guy. If the Niners feel that way, why is Trey still here?
We should be asking if Brock should even start. I think so. For me, Brock should start if he's healthy. Brock should start based on what he did in games. But I still think Trey Lance has a higher ceiling and will ultimately be a better quarterback. That's my take on it. But I think when you go out there and you run the offense the way that Brock Purdy ran the offense, and you win every game where you start and finish, then you deserve to start.
Yeah. Seems like it. Okay. If the Niners had traded up for Brock instead of Trey, this is one that kills me. So to me, a big part of the Brock Purdy discourse is the fact that he was Mr. Irrelevant. Like, he exceeded expectations with his first completion. He is the greatest Mr. Irrelevant of all time. So anytime he does anything well, it's just like you can make a big deal about it. Like, wow, what a screen pass. Like, what touch, what timing, what poise, what confidence, well, all of it. Because you can't expect a 7th round pick, the last pick in the draft, to have any of those qualities no one ever has. Mm-hmm. When he does anything poorly, like his arm isn't that strong, or he isn't that tall, or he isn't that fast, or people are like, well, what do you want? He's the freaking Mr. Irrelevant. What do you expect? So I think that works in his favor. And I think what really worked against Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance were the high expectations. The Niners made Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid player in the league after 5 starts. Everyone expected him to be elite. He wasn't. The Niners spent 3 years worth of first-round picks on Trey Lance. Everyone expected him to be elite. He isn't yet. And people hold that against him. But Brock, there's no expectation that he needs to be elite. I mean, if the Niners had traded up for Brock, there would be that expectation. And I think that's what's kind of interesting. Like, even with his 8-0 record or whatever, if the Niners had spent 3 years worth of first-round picks on Brock Purdy and gotten, like, the right-handed Tua, people wouldn't be so, like, as over the moon. They would say, yeah, good start, but we got, like, Mac Jones at number 3, and we didn't want that. So I think that's one way to look at it. Remember how adamant Niner fans were that they didn't want Mac Jones with that pick? Well, Brock Purdy's like Mac Jones, except with, a weaker arm.
Better personality. But, yeah. First of all, that
100 mil.
Yeah. Mac Jones is not likable. I like Brock Purdy. I love his personality. But first of all, they would never do that. They're never going to trade up for somebody with Brock Purdy's skill set, because those intangibles, the things that Brock is good at, you can't see in the draft. So first of all, that would never happen, right? Nobody would ever trade 3 first-rounders for a guy with
someone like that.
And
if you did, even if that guy had early success, you'd still be ridiculed throughout the league for trading for someone with that skill set. That's what when I want to talk about Brock, you always have to go back to, yeah, it's a good start, but can't we talk about his skill set? He has the weakest arm in the league. He's small. People be like, why does that matter? Of course it matters. This is why it matters.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it can't be overcome, right? He can overcome that lack of arm talent, that lack of size.
But there would be more skepticism.
Yes, there would definitely be more skepticism. But, when it comes to, especially with this fan base, man, there's half of them, and it's probably all fan bases, but very casual, very basic. They look at wins and losses, and that's how they judge their quarterback. Oh, he's winning. Great quarterback. There's a lot more depth to it. But if he comes in, regardless of when he was drafted, if they traded up 3 firsts for him or not, if he's winning, there's going to be no complaints. But when that lack of skill set starts showing up, that's when everyone would freak out.
And I think one reason Brock could unite the fan base, or one thing that he has going for him that Jimmy and Trey don't, is just the low expectations. With Jimmy, once he got that contract, it really opened up the floodgates for criticism. It's like, oh, you're paying him how much money? All right, be elite. And he never was. And you could always knock him for that. It's like, people would say, well, he hasn't experienced. It's like, well, his contract says he should be playing like a Pro Bowler, and he's not. And then the flip side happened with Trey Lance. All the people that felt that they were upset about how Jimmy Garoppolo was treated because of his contract, they put it right back on Trey because of the trade. And with Brock, it's like you can't hold any of that stuff against him. He's playing for football minimum wage. He's not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to be. He looks like he's 11. You gotta like him. And that's great. But eventually, if he's the real deal, he's going to make big money and he's going to be held to a higher standard. And you got to think of him that way because Trey already is held at that standard already. Trey's held to a higher standard than Brock right now because of how they were acquired. It's crazy.
Brock's making 900,000. Trey's making like 10. So if that was switched, if Brock was making 10 right now, I don't know if the expectations would definitely be different if he was drafted higher. The thing that made Brock so amazing and why everybody's just so attracted to him as a quarterback is because of the underdog story. He came from the bottom, started from the bottom. Now he's here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
that's the
great story.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And if you take that away, it's a different
I've seen people on Twitter say stuff like, I'd rather have Brock Purdy than Patrick Mahomes because there's a salary cap. I saw that one. If there was no salary cap, I'd rather have Patrick Mahomes, but I'll take Purdy because there's a salary cap. Well, obviously, if the Niners try to trade Brock Purdy for Patrick Mahomes right now, the Chiefs would say no. They wouldn't be like, oh, thank God. Maybe we've been trying to get off this contract. It's killing us over here. Right. Like, that wouldn't happen. But that's the whole thing with Brock is like he's cheap. He's cheap. Like, he wouldn't be cheap if you took him with the third pick in the draft. Like, yeah, he is good for the price, and that's nice. That cost effectiveness is great, but eventually, if you think he's the truth, you're gonna have to pay him accordingly, and that might not work out so well. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. We caught up in the story of it. Now let's see how it plays out long term.
I feel like we're just like grading him on a JV scale. It's like, oh, look at him go. Like, no, he's in the NFL. He's a starting quarterback, and his limitations are there, and he worked around him for 8 games, but we don't know what the future holds. Yeah. There's a reason why people usually want those skill sets higher in the draft because they don't want those limitations.
I mean, that's what Kyle wants. I mean, look at everybody Kyle has brought in, right? Kyle didn't bring Brock Purdy in, right? Brock Purdy was scouted. The
scouting staff did. Yeah.
Right. Kyle wanted Kirk Cousins. Kyle wanted Trey Lance. Right? Yeah. Kyle brought in Sam Darnold. Like, he likes that arm talent, that high skill set. Brock Purdy just happened to work out for him, and that's not what he wanted, right? Kyle definitely wants somebody that can make all the throws. That's a big part of the reason why he wanted to move on from Jimmy. And so Brock Purdy kind of forced his hand. He's winning games. You got to play him, and respect to Brock Purdy for what he's done. But I don't think
he did force Kyle's hand. Yeah. But one thing we know about Kyle is he doesn't like being forced to do anything. This is his team. Mm-hmm. He was forced to coach Jimmy Garoppolo for a long time against his will. Not going to let that happen again. Brock, I'm telling you, I don't think Kyle's in your corner as much as you think he is. But maybe you already know that. I don't know. Jaleel Deeks is 2 of the best in the game. Y'all some real ones. Some real ones. Thank you, Jaleel. Ryan, your call-in show went down yesterday. The best thing about all this is that in a couple of weeks, we'll kind of see what we have in both.
Yes, sir.
Man, in like a week, we're going to be there. It's going to be there. Francisco Escamilla says Kirk would give us 100 times more than Jimmy Garoppolo ever gave us.
Facts.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins would be the best quarterback the 49ers have had so far. He's better than Brock. He's better than Jimmy. He's better than Sam Darnold. He's better than anything Trey Lance has shown so far, at least. I would take Kirk Cousins in a heartbeat. I think we would have at least one Super Bowl if Kirk Cousins was here the whole time instead of Jimmy G. I believe that.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I don't believe that.
I know.
But it's okay. Well, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. He's a statue. And he stinks in big games, kind of like Kyle Shanahan. Anyway, Anoop says, is our plan to send Brock back to Pennsylvania in his first game to play the Steelers D? Thumbs down. Give Trey the first 4 games and assess him. That's a tough assignment for whoever gets that game.
Yeah. Throw Sam Darnold out there. Let's see what Sam does.
If you want to run the ball and get through it like a rough part of the season, play Trey. Run the ball. I don't understand why they don't do that more. They lost the NFC Championship game on a pass play. Why are you passing? You're the 49ers. Who do you think you are?
How did Trey Lance not be your best choice for week 1? Sam Darnold does not know the offense, and he's shown what he can do in his career. Trey Lance is fully recovered, has been at OTAs, training camp. He's out there training with Jeff Christensen yesterday. He's been in the offense for 3 years. To me, he's going to start week 1. I would be surprised if that's not the case.
He's fully healthy. He's much improved from all reports. Debo, Kittle, Kyle. He's really not going to start week 1. I don't see it. And the guy's going to start isn't fully recovered yet.
Really? And if they don't start him week 1 and Brock comes back and they're never going to see what Trey Lance could do ever. This is like their last opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and it's like if you start Brock Purdy with no offseason over Trey Lance, who's fully recovered and making strides, I mean, and then Brock Purdy stinks it up because he's not ready, and then you go to Trey, it's like you already killed his confidence. It's like, hey, thanks for working hard all offseason and making those strides, but we still don't believe in you. Oh, week 2, hey, we believe in you. Can you play for us?
Yeah. Is your elbow ready?
Yeah. B Rainbow says, will the Niners respect TJ Watt like they did with Micah or they didn't with Hassan Reddick? Maybe starting QB doesn't survive week 1. It's a great question. I still don't understand why the Niners thought Hassan Reddick was so trash, but I think that's what they decided. They respected Micah Parsons. They didn't respect Reddick. I think they're going to respect TJ Watt.
I hope so. I hope they learn their lesson. This offensive line, the offensive line and the quarterback continue. We say this every week, but it's the biggest question mark for the 49ers. I mean, I think that, overall the 49ers have a good quarterback room, but do they have that guy? I don't know. And are they going to be able to protect him? PFF ranks the 49ers offensive line at 18th. They did not have good things to say about the 49ers offensive line. Now, who cares necessarily what PFF says? But they said San Francisco's – well, they basically said if it wasn't for Trent Williams, this line would be extremely questionable. They're ranked 18th according to PFF. So I don't know. It worries me, man. I don't know what McKivitz is going to be able to do against TJ Watt, but I guess we'll see.
I still can't get over the fact that the Niners underestimated Hassan Reddick so much. I think it's because he was in the NFC West. The Cardinals drafted him in 2017. The Niners got a good look at him for years, and Reddick really wasn't good the first 3 years of his career. 2.5 sacks, 4 sacks, 1 sack. His last year, his contract year, I guess, 12.5 sacks. And I don't know, he had 1.5 sacks in his last game against the Niners with the Cardinals. I feel like they should have known. They should have known. I feel like they thought they knew something about him that they were wrong about. And I mean, anyway,
of course they should have known. Absolutely.
They should have known. Yeah. Guy's the truth. Anyway, I mean, they respected Javon Hargrave. They respected him. What? But Javon Hargrave didn't ruin their season. It was freaking Reddick.
Hassan Reddick, for the last, I think it was 3 to 4 weeks prior to that game, was ignoring all play action. He was just going after the quarterback. If you watch the games, he was doing it for 3 to 4 weeks prior to where they played the 49ers. And all of a sudden, they missed it. I don't know how they missed it, man. But they should have known.
All right, let's talk Trey Lance. Word is that he's back working with Jeff Christensen right now. He was at tight end U a few weeks ago. Now he's back doing work that matters, working with his independent throwing coach, who's not really associated with the 49ers. They have their own guys like John Beck or anyway, guys who've worked with Trey Lance in the past and haven't really gotten the results that were needed. Apparently, Jeff Christensen's getting those results. He taught Jimmy Garoppolo how to throw in high school, and he works with Patrick Mahomes. It's good. I'm encouraged to know that Lance went back before training camp because it seemed like it made a big difference for him before OTAs and minicamp, and he needs as many. I mean, Tom Brady would consistently do these touch-ups in the offseason. So I'm good. I'm glad to know that Trey Lance is committed. It's not just like an Instagram opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One vibe I get from Trey Lance is that he wants to be good. He wants to be great. And it's not something I get from Sam Darnold. I get it from Brock Purdy, and I get it from Trey Lance. And so that's refreshing to me. And, he's going into year 3. The first year, he was kind of like a little brother, trying not to step on any toes with Jimmy there. Second year, he was kind of appointed but not ready. Third year, he's fighting way back from injury. He's hearing all the talk. He's working his ass off. He looks better, according to everybody who's seen him, and including myself. He looks just more confident, looks more tight with his mechanics. He just looks like he's improving, and he wants to be great. He's probably hearing all the talk. Hopefully he has a chip on his shoulder. I'm excited to see what he can do, at least in preseason.
I think there are a lot of similarities between – a lot of people want to compare Sam Darnold to Alex Smith. But I want to compare Trey Lance to Alex Smith because Trey Lance was drafted when he was 20. He was very young, not immature, but just very young and inexperienced. And I think his career arc, at least so far, has been a lot like Alex Smith's, little too young to play at first, a little overwhelmed, injured, scapegoated, and really written off by his own fan base. Did not have instant success, but ended up being a Pro Bowl quarterback elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So that could be Trey Lance. And you heard that Alex Smith was talking to NBC Sports Bay Area this weekend and gave him a big vote of confidence, saying very talented guy, really young when he got here. He's 23. Yeah, I wouldn't write him off.
Yeah, he was complimentary of all the quarterbacks, says that they have probably underrated quarterback room. The whole quarterback room thing, that's new. That's 2023 talk right there, the quarterback room. You never really heard that before this year. But yeah, Alex Smith was complimentary of all of them. He actually compared Darnold to himself. And I understand it. I think Darnold is definitely going to play better this year than he ever has when he plays, but I still think he's Sam Darnold. I just want to see. I just really want to see. Like, again, I think might be the last opportunity we have to see what Trey Lance can become. And so I just want to see it, man. Like, start him week 1, let Brock Purdy fully recover, and let's see what Trey can do, because he seems to really want to be great. And they've invested a lot in him. And if they don't do it now, when the hell are they going to do it?
Yeah, agree. Okay, let's get a couple more super chats, and then we'll start comparing the Niners to other teams. Francisco, which Mahomes coach is Lance working with? Jeff Christensen. Google him. Seems to know what he's doing. And one thing I noticed that people will see once training camp starts, because fans will be there, is a much more controlled, quicker stroke on the short throws. I think one thing that stood out when he was in preseason as a rookie, the slants. He's throwing them really hard. And there were a lot of drops for Trey. But a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but you don't throw the most catchable ball. I feel like his short throws are much more catchable now. And that's something I saw consistently through OTAs and minicamp. That'd be something to look for, because that's a big, easy way he can improve, I would think.
Yeah, and another thing, Grant, I don't think I spoke to you about this yet, but watching the quarterback, Mariota was talking about how he was drafted so high that he felt like when he was playing that he had to make these incredible plays. Okay. Right? He had to come in and just do these amazing things.
Make plays.
Last year, Trey Lance got a kick back and watched Brock Purdy dink and dunk his way to 8 wins in a row. And I'm wondering if Trey Lance has kind of figured out, oh, that's all I got to do. I just got to hit my open guy and let him do the work for me, So maybe that's going to be an improvement we'll see from him as well. And I hope so.
Yeah. Joshua Wyatt says, if Trey Lance doesn't play this year, how could you pick up his 5th-year option? So why is Trey still here? None of this makes sense. That's a good point. Niners lack conviction, and they have for 7 years institutional failure. Yeah, why is he still here? Because the Niners lack conviction. And what's funny is that John Lynch always uses that term wrong. And anyways, I'm so convicted. No, you're not. You are not under arrest. You're not convicted. You're not under investigation. It's conviction, and you don't have it at the quarterback position. It's true. If you're trying to decide whether or not Trey Lance should be here for the 5th-year option, you need to play him at some point this year.
And I think the 49ers saw them. They went through 4 quarterbacks last year, 5 if you count CMC, right? So, I mean, they probably know themselves that they're going to need some quarterbacks this year outside of one.
I just think it's so funny that they went through all their quarterbacks, and they're like, should we improve our offensive line or get more quarterbacks? More quarterbacks. Like, B, get more. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
Jaleel says, what is the play caller series on? It's on what?
Coach
Spotify. Yeah.
Oh, Athletic, right?
I haven't listened to all of them yet, but man, Mike McDaniel's the most interesting person on that show. My opinion is that he really resents Kyle Shanahan. Resents the hell out of him.
I gotta watch it. I haven't heard it yet. I gotta listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I get the feeling that Mike McDaniel thinks he's way smarter than Kyle. I get the feeling he thinks he's way smarter than Kyle, and that Kyle kind of took advantage of him. Like, look, I'm the chosen one. Mike Shanahan's my dad. Mike Shanahan's the head coach of this Washington team. He'll hire you. So you're going to have to make me look good. You're going to have to let me copy off your homework. You're going to let me have to copy off your tests. You're going to have to make me look like I'm a freaking genius, even though I'm not. And you went to Yale. And I think Mike McDaniel went along with that for a long time. And now he's the head coach of a different team. And he's really not hiding how he feels about Kyle anymore. Maybe Mike is being ungrateful. Maybe Kyle was right. Maybe Mike is wrong. I don't know. Decide for yourself. It's very interesting.
I gotta listen to it now. You got me hyped.
Yup. Mike drops with Monsa says KC Chiefs wide receivers, QBs, tight ends get together in offseason, work on scheme before OTAs and camp. They have 2 Super Bowls and work more than SF. Hubris of Kyle is infectious. Do you think Kyle is on the hot seat and that's why they're pushing Brock?
No.
I think Kyle has no pressure from Jed York, and that's really probably the biggest problem with the 49ers. Maybe Kyle with Eddie D, maybe it would work. But Kyle with Jed, I think he just walks all over Jed. He brags in front of Jed's face to fans like, yeah, this guy's never told me what to do once in 7 years. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating having a quarterback be QB1, an appointed QB1, and he's not healthy because, like Mike Drop says here, in that video, you see that, Patrick Mahomes is working with his team outside of Kansas City stuff. He's organizing himself and they're putting in work because they know he's QB1. I just want the 49ers to go into an offseason knowing who's QB1, but also that guy being healthy. Right.
When was the last time the Niners had a healthy quarterback going into a season?
Jimmy?
2020.
Yeah.
2020. No, that didn't go so well. That season didn't go so well at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. One more. Bill Kennedy says, any chance the Niners will use both Brock and Trey in the same game depending on the situation? Remember Red Hickey's system. Remember 2021 where Kyle was trying to do that with. Honestly, I could see Kyle doing it.
I can see him doing it.
I can see him doing it.
I just don't want him to. I just think it's like saying
it's
like saying Trey can't do this, but he can't play quarterback, but we can throw him in for some trick plays.
Yeah, we can make him Taysom Hill. Like, no, he's not really that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk the Niners in relation to the rest of the NFC West. The Niners have a great roster. I don't know if I'm going to say great. An excellent roster, and a lot of people think it's as good as any roster in the league. At D-line, at linebacker, at tight end, at running back. I think it's pretty undeniable that the Niners are at the top. Best running backs in the league, best tight ends in the league, or up there. Best D-line, well, up there, and linebackers for sure.
Yeah.
What about the other ones? Let's talk about quarterback. Do the Niners have the best quarterback in the NFC West? I guess we're talking Brock Purdy, because that's who they say their quarterback is. Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith. Who's the best?
Well, I did this poll, man, and a majority of 49er fans said Brock, and I think you guys are a bunch of homers if I'm being honest about it here. Let's talk about it. I mean, Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards in a season. He's thrown for 40-plus touchdowns in a season. He's been a Pro Bowl quarterback, I believe. He's won a Super Bowl. I think out of all these quarterbacks, he's the only one that's won a Super Bowl. He's the only one that's put up those kind of numbers. Matt Stafford has to be the best quarterback in the NFC West. Now, maybe he's not going to be the same like he was when he won the Super Bowl. Maybe he's fallen off, but I'm going to put Matt Stafford at number 1. Do you want me to continue and go through all 4?
I would go with Stafford number 1 too. I was just pulling up his stats. I mean, He won a Super Bowl. He's thrown 333 touchdown passes in his career. Somehow only went to 1 Pro Bowl in his career, but I would have to say the totality of his resume dwarfs anyone else in this division. Not even close.
Yeah. And I think
not even close.
I think 49er fans need to put these quarterbacks on the 49ers. When you're thinking about this, put them on the 49ers. If Matt Stafford was on the 49ers over the last few years, do you think we might have won a Super Bowl? I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the only question with Stafford is, how healthy is he? How much?
Healthy?
Yeah, how much does he have going forward? He wasn't good last year. That's all fair.
Right.
So if you're telling me he's never going to be what he was in his peak and he's now declining, fine. Then I'm not interested in anymore. He almost looked like Ben Roethlisberger, old Ben Roethlisberger last year. So with the elbow problem and all that. So I don't know, but I'm still taking Stafford.
I'm still taking Stafford. And after that, it's tough for me because if you look at who had the best year last year, Geno had a much better year than
doubt
for an entire season, right?
For sure. Stayed healthy.
If you're basing it just on last year, which is all you're basing your judgment on Brock on, you're basing all your judgments on Brock on 8 games last year.
Right.
So
and Brock was on a better team.
Right. So why can't we base Geno's 18 games when we're making a decision on. If you're for basing it on those 18 games, he's better than Brock Purdy based on those 18 games versus Brock's 8.
Yeah, and I think this is the point of this exercise. We got to stop focusing on a year or 8 games. It's the totality. It's the full picture. It's obviously Stafford when you look at it that way. It's like not even a discussion. And then after that, to me, you could even argue that it's Kyler.
Kyler's more
you could
talented.
argue. I mean, he's been on that organization is a freaking joke. Now, I know he has culpability. He's not the pro he should be. He doesn't study like he should.
Yeah.
But what you said, you put him on the 49ers. If you put Kyler on the 49ers, given what Brock Purdy did,
right,
running around.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I mean, he tore his ACL though. I don't know what he's gonna be like when he comes back, but damn.
Sorry,
I'm just saying, it's all good.
I got business calls, man. But yeah, no, I
just saying.
I agree.
I mean, I might take Geno above Kyler, but again, like Geno's a 1-year wonder at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but so is Brock.
He's a half-year wonder.
He's a half-year wonder.
It's a half-year. So to me, I would have to put Brock at the bottom.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he couldn't end up being number 1 at the end of this year. Like, that's what's cool about Brock. He could end up being number 1 on this list at the end of the year if Stafford falls off and Geno comes back to earth and Kyler's going to miss the whole year. But right now, 4th.
If Brock plays the same way he did for those 8 games for the whole season, wins the Super Bowl, he's probably number 1. Right?
But he hasn't shown he can stay healthy for a full season. He's going to have no offseason to prepare and improve. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. He's not going to have time to get better this offseason. All that stuff. I mean, it could be like a down year before it's an up,
Bro, I literally turned off my notifications. I apologize.
Bro, that's all good. Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
So the Niners do not have the best quarterback in the NFC West, according to us. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Do the 49ers have the best wide receivers in the NFC West? Let me go through and name them all. Starting with the wide receivers on the 49ers, obviously we got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings. On the Arizona Cardinals, they're down to Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore, and Greg Dortch.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. The Rams, they got Ben Skoranek, Van Jefferson, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Skoranek's like a fullback half the time. And the Seahawks have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. First-round pick, Ohio State. Who are you going with? Let's rank them. Should we go from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom?
So the bottom is the Cardinals. Like, not even close.
What a trash team.
Yeah, they're trash. Right in the middle, I say the Rams is going to be 3rd.
Yeah.
I think the
Cooper Kupp's great, but like Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek, you could do a lot better.
Yeah. I think the only real debate is Seattle and the 49ers. They're like neck and neck to me. Now, I'm honestly going to – I know it's going to piss people off. I'm going to go Seattle.
I'm leaning Seattle.
I'm going. Yeah,
I don't mean to piss people off, but DK might be the best of all of them.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, I mean, he may not be as good as Brandon Ayuk. He's close. He's really good.
Yeah.
Tebow's great, but I think the big difference here is that you got Juwan Jennings, who's, again, kind of like on the Brock Purdy scale, like not making a lot of money, 7th-round pick, really low bar. Anytime he does anything, people are like, wow, he caught the ball. Yeah. Seahawks have a 1st-round pick there. He hasn't played yet, but I think this guy is going to be super duper good.
I'm going to go Seattle.
Even if it was just the top 2, though, I would take Seattle. But the top 3, I'm taking Seattle.
If we get Brandon Ayuk from last year, or maybe slightly better, if we get Deebo from 2 years ago, then I say 49ers. But and I think Deebo's gonna make a comeback this year. I really do. I see him working. He looks slim. So maybe this could be a horrible take right now. So because I could easily see if Deebo, 100% Deebo, 100% Ayuk, I could see them being better than Seattle. But if you're talking about pure wide receiver standpoint, I got to go with Seattle, man. I think they just have better route runners, pass catchers. Now, if Deebo was just as good as Ayuk at route running and pass catching, then I would go Niners. But last year, Deebo just didn't look the same. And until you show me that you can be the guy from 2 years ago, I'm going to hold off on assuming that that's what we're going to see this year.
Agree. All right, let's go to hold on. Let me write it in. Do the 49ers have the best offensive line in the NFC West? we always point to the offensive line as being not so good.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is most teams have bad offensive lines.
Especially in
It's
the
a tough
NFC
position to
West.
play, especially in the NFC West. So let's go through them. Cardinals from left to right. DJ Humphries, Elijah Wilkinson,
Some guy, some other
some guy named Hajalt Froholt, someone I've never heard of, Will Hernandez, and Paris Johnson Jr.
Trash.
Rookie. All right. Trash. Rams, left to right. Joe Noteboom, Steve Avila, Brian Allen, Logan Bruss, Rob Havenstein. I mean, at least they got a right tackle. That's about all I can say about them. The Seahawks, they got Charles Cross, Damian Lewis, Evan Brown, Phil Haynes, Abraham Lucas. Decent Young. And the Niners, they got Trent Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Spencer Rivers. Cool. Man, that's
so this one, the PFS has the 49ers O-line ranked 18th. The Rams are 28th. The Seahawks are 30th. The Cardinals are 31st. So
let's go back to the Seahawks for a second. I think Charles Cross is good.
Mm-hmm.
He was a rookie last year. I like him. I think Abraham Lucas, the right tackle, who's a rookie last year, is also good.
Question mark.
They drafted Oluwatimi, who I like, but I mean, I don't know. They have legitimately two good offensive tackles. The Niners don't have that. They have one. I don't know.
I'm going Niners. Here's the thing: is just because everyone else is so bad, right? I think the 49ers have a mid-level offensive line, and if you took out Trent Williams, it'd be disastrous. But with Trent Williams, Aaron Banks is solid. Brendel is, right, he's right there. Burford hopefully takes a leap. The big
Cole
question
McKivitz is the worst starting offensive tackle in the NFC West, though.
Yeah,
the worst.
Yeah,
he would not start for any other team in this division. I don't know if he start for any other team in the league. Colton McKivitz, right tackle. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and maybe
it's like, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. What about your right tackle? He's great. What are you talking about? Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, 49ers have the best offensive line, but it's not like it's a good offense. It's not a great offensive line. It's not an elite offensive line. It's an okay offensive line, and that's mainly because of Trent Williams. We'll see if Aaron Banks can improve it. We'll see if Burford can improve. Brendel's kind of a mid-type guy. Maybe
Brendel and Banks right now are solid.
Yeah.
Burford has a chance to become solid.
Right.
Colton McKivitz, excuse me if I'm skeptical on that one. What is the projection there?
Yeah.
Bad plus, D plus? D. That's like a D right tackle. I don't know. It's kind of an important position.
He could be an improvement over McGlinchey on the pass protection standpoint. Probably not as a run blocker. We'll see, man. I'm hoping McKivitz surprises us. But yeah, they're definitely. I hear
that a lot, though. A lot of people saying, he'll be a better pass protector than McGlinchey. Then he should have been playing over McGlinchey. Why the hell was McGlinchey? Because McGlinchey, he hasn't been a good run blocker in a long time. All the Niners' long runs last year went left. Left.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
They're probably going to do that again this year, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think that's probably what the Niners are thinking. Like, we're going to run left anyway. When we run right, we're going to have all those tight ends on that side anyway. So McKivitz, but what about those 4 to 7 plays per game where it's drop back passing mode and McKivitz is one-on-one against an athlete who's like way better than him? You can't fake that.
How about not running to the same side all the time? I think that's probably a bad thing. I think that's not ideal.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, being able to be balanced. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's go defense. Do the 49ers have the best secondary in the NFC West? I'll go through it. This is 5 positions. With the Niners, obviously, we got Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Isaiah Oliver, Tashawn Gibson, and Talanoa Hufanga. You also got Jair Brown if you want to throw him in there instead of Gibson.
Yeah.
Seahawks. Devin Witherspoon, the rookie 5th pick in the draft. Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Tyreek Woolen, and Kobe Bryant in the slot. For the Rams, you got, I don't even know who they got. Okay.
Nobody. Nobody.
Akello Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Darian Kendrick. Kobe Durant. Haven't heard of those two guys. Jordan Fuller and Russ Yeast. Man, he sounds like an R&B singer.
They're ranked 32nd in PFF. They're ranked the worst. The Rams are the worst defensive back unit in the NFL. Cards are.
It's bad when you legitimately haven't heard of people in the unit.
Yeah, like who's
Russ
that guy?
Yeast.
Yeah, Yeast.
That guy's a singer. That guy makes bread. He works
Right.
at Acme.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to Seattle and 49ers.
Well, hold
but
on. Let me do the Cardinals real quick, even though
Yeah.
we forget that they even exist. Antonio Hamilton Sr., never heard of him. Marco Wilson, maybe heard of him. Isaiah Simmons, he's playing nickel now. Isaiah Simmons is playing nickel for them now. Ooh, what could go wrong? Buda Baker, great player. Jalen Thompson, great. Woo! So,
Buda Baker's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a
That's all
guy.
they have. That's all they have. They're trash.
So again, it comes down to the Niners in Seattle.
The Cardinals and the Rams are awful. They're an awful team.
They're bad.
In general. Yes.
They're super bad.
Yes.
What is Aaron Donald doing? Why is he wasting his time over there?
Yeah. Where's Ramelia? He's not in the chat today. I wish he was.
Yeah, where you at?
Is awful.
Where you at?
We're down to Seattle and 49ers. To me, it's 49ers. I'll take them over. Now, Seattle, again, they got some young pieces, kind of like their O-line, who could surprise people. But the 49ers, I think the 49ers, I was really thinking about it, Grant, and you may not agree with me. I think the 49ers defense is going to be better this year than it was last year. I believe that is going to be the case. I really like, especially the defensive back unit, especially with Wilkes as the coach. I like Isaiah Oliver. I like the pickup of Luter.
On paper, right?
On paper, yeah.
Because Armstead was nothing last year, and now you got him
and Hargrave.
Yeah. And I think Oliver's going to be good.
Drake Jackson has to be better, right?
I think I'm losing a minute. Who's going to hurt? I think he's going to go to the Chiefs and be really good. But again, on paper, it's a better defense. The question is, new coordinator, what's that going to do? And what about the schedule? Like last year's schedule was so favorable. This year, I think they play tougher teams, tougher quarterbacks, more travel. So the numbers might not be as good, but again, on paper, they should be able to turn it up and dominate in ways that they didn't always last year. Like their third down defense wasn't as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
They're going to have their pass rush wasn't as good as it should have been. Honestly, it was the Nick Bosa show.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I think their, like you said, their schedule is going to be tougher. But I think if this year's defense is going to do better than last year's defense would have against this schedule.
Did you decide which secondary you prefer, Niners or Seattle?
Oh, Niners.
I like Seattle's.
Do you?
Let's talk about it. Because to me, I like. They got better corners.
Really?
I know Travarius Ward's really good, but I'm still a little skeptical of Lenore. I want to know. I'm not even sure he's going to be the starter by the end of the season. I like Luter could be coming. So, and then Diggs is really good. They also have who's the other guy they got? Jordan Love. What's his name? Julian Love.
Let me pull up the rankings.
Just in case Jamal Adams isn't ready. Jamal Adams has been gone. I think they might have the best secondary in the league. Seattle. It's not Legion of Boom status, but it's quite. We'll see what Witherspoon does. He was not all top 5 picks at corner.
So PFF again, it's PFF. It's not the Bible.
Is this based on last year or this year? Upcoming year.
This year.
Okay.
49ers are 9th, Seattle 17th defensive backs.
17th.
Yeah.
Who's weak in that secondary? I just don't see it. Real quick, again, they got Devin Witherspoon, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Tyreek Woolen, and Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And Julian Love. Nah. And Michael Jackson. Thriller. He made Thriller.
They got Michael Jackson and Kobe. That's pretty cool.
They got Michael Jackson and Kobe, and they don't get extra points for that? Ridiculous.
It's pretty cool.
I think these are both top 10 secondaries. They both are.
Yeah, I think Seattle's their DBs might be a little underrated. I'm looking at some teams they have over them. They got the Commanders over them, the Patriots over them, the Buccaneers over them, Chargers, Bengals.
Well, we'll see what this rookie does. We'll see what Witherspoon does. Maybe they're just like not assuming what Witherspoon's going to be. But if that guy ends up being like Sauce Gardner, from the year before, then yeah.
I like the 49ers because I think Isaiah Oliver is going to be huge for the 49ers. I think it's going to be an upgrade over Jimmy Ward. And Jimmy Ward is probably one of my favorite players.
In certain ways, right?
Yeah,
in coverage.
Yeah, in coverage.
He's never really played behind a pass rush like this either. He could be making plays. Yeah.
And Sam Womack last year flashed to me a lot. And he's coming into year 2. It kind of reminds me of Huff. Huff's rookie year, he flashed a lot. And I said, man, Huff is going to be good this second year. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Sam Womack. So I like Sam Womack. I like Isaiah Oliver. Obviously, I love Huff. Gibson is solid. Then you got Jair Brown coming back, Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore.
That's good.
Luter Jr. Like I just got him. I got him over Seattle.
I guess I want to see a little more. I want to know what's going to happen at that right corner spot. I trust Travarius Ward. I like Oliver. I think I like Oliver. Oliver played 12 games last year. He does get hurt.
He's gonna be a Pro Bowler. He's gonna be a Pro Bowler this year. Isaiah.
Oh, I like that. I like that. But I want to know what about Lenore? Who's going to be starting their week 1 of the playoffs? Who's starting opposite Ward? I want to know.
Luter.
Is it Lenore?
Luter Jr.
Jr.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
week 1
in that case, that could change things. That could change things.
Yeah.
Definitely could. Because if Seattle, if their number 1 corner is Witherspoon and their number 2 guy is Woolen, but I don't know about Witherspoon yet. We'll see. All right. Yeah. Big question this year is training camp starts in a week. We've broken down this roster in so many different ways. How far do you think the Niners will make it this season? If you had to bet on this in Vegas and just make the most responsible bet you could, or not the most responsible, but the most accurate, what do you think?
Okay.
How far?
I would say it's tough. I think they're going to either lose in the Super Bowl or lose in the NFC Championship game. If they can beat the Eagles, I feel like we're going to face the Eagles in the NFC Championship game again. And hopefully we beat them and go to the Super Bowl. But I'm concerned about the quarterbacks and the O-lines in the AFC versus our O-line and our quarterback in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. If I had to make a bet, I would say, honestly, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to say we go to the Super Bowl and lose. Unfortunately, that's how I feel. I feel like it's just like, how would you bet on the Cowboys? What would you say the Cowboys are going to do? They're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to maybe win 1 game, and then they're done. With the 49ers, they tend to go 1 more game than the Cowboys, basically. So if I had to bet money, I think the 49ers are going to go to the Super Bowl and unfortunately lose. Now, maybe they can win the whole damn thing, but everything has to fall into place. If you don't have that O-line, you don't have that quarterback dialed in, everything has to go perfectly. So maybe they win the Super Bowl. That would be great. But if I had to bet money on what happens, Niners go to the Super Bowl and they lose, unfortunately.
Okay. That's actually a little bit more generous than I was going to be. If I had to bet money, I would say that they're going to play on the road in the NFC Championship game and lose. They start slow. They finish hot. They get to the NFC Championship game, they lose. They're going to do it again. Yeah. And people are going to say, 3 years in a row. That is so impressive. How many teams could go to the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row and 4 out of 5 years? Like, they'll spin it as a positive. Again, that's what I see. And I'll be the one person being like, not the one person, but we'll be over there being like, hold on. We're celebrating the fact that they still can't get any further than they got last year. Like, this is their level. I don't know.
They're in danger of being the Buffalo Bills from the 90s.
Not even that, man. Buffalo Bills went to 3 straight Super Bowls. I don't even know what you call the Niners.
Yeah.
The early 2000s Eagles.
Yeah. Obviously, my hope.
Team that no one cares about.
My hope as a 49er fan is that they go to the Super Bowl and they win the damn thing. I want that more than anything else. But if you're betting money, you just got to base it on the history and what's happened. And this is what happens. They go to the NFC Championship game or they go to the Super Bowl and they lose. And so if I'm betting, I'm going to bet what's happened on history. I'm going to hope for a win, though.
The way I see it is their 2 biggest question marks on offense, quarterback room, offensive line room. Neither one got better this offseason. They have more question marks in those rooms. Maybe they got better. But as it stands right now, there are more mysteries in those rooms right now than last year. Like, you let McGlinchey go, smart. I wouldn't have paid him either. You didn't bring in anyone. No one in the draft. You just elevated his backup. The guy that you told everyone last year was not as good as Mike McGlinchey. That's curious.
Yeah.
It's like you let Jimmy Garoppolo go, great, and you replace him with Sam Darnold, and you have 2 guys coming off surgery. Like, we'll see. It could work.
Now, it is possible that the offensive line is better. It's possible that Banks plays better. It's possible that Brindell is at least the same.
Feliciano.
That Burford steps up or Feliciano steps in.
I just have a tough time believing that right tackle is better. When it's like, if Cole McKivitz was better than Mike McGlinchey, then why the hell was Mike McGlinchey ever playing for this team? Like that would be my next question. If Cole McKivitz actually is an upgrade over McGlinchey, that would be amazing.
It's possible that Sam Darnold is better than Jimmy G. It's possible that we see a better version of Trey Lance. I actually think we will. When it comes to Trey Lance, if he plays, I think we're going to see the best version of Trey Lance we've seen so far.
Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold is the one quarterback who can stay healthy on this team? Sam Darnold.
It's all on Sam. Brock Purdy, I don't know. I honestly don't know if we're going to see an improved Brock Purdy coming off a UCL injury with little to no training camp or OTAs. So if I had to bet, I feel like we're going to go Super Bowl and lose. I would love to be wrong.
Yeah. How great is your roster if you don't have a QB1? Says Dirty Gold Bastards. That's pretty much the question that all Niner fans and Niner personnel people need to ask themselves. How great is your team really if you don't have a QB1?
Well, right now that's the question. Hopefully,
They have 3 QB1s. You didn't know that?
They do. Literally, that's what Kyle said. 3 franchise quarterbacks. I mean, that's the question right now. And hopefully by week 17, week 18, we have an answer. And there's a true, obvious number one. We don't know.
Yeah. Chris Tellerico says, my money would be on them missing the playoffs or losing in wild card round. They haven't done anything to get better where they need it, and competition did. Dude. I mean, they got better on the D line, which is fun. They got better in the secondary, which is cool. Defense is great, but yeah, there's those 2 things on offense.
There's no way the Niners missed the playoffs, man. The NFC is garbage. The 49ers defense is going to be top 2 or 3.
I mean, it could happen.
Guaranteed.
Because this team does have, I mean, if it was the injury year, right?
Yeah.
It happened in 2020. They're coming off a Super Bowl appearance.
It
could happen.
They're going to make it.
They're consistently among the top 10 most injured teams in the league, though. You know what I mean? Like, they start off 3-4. If they get a bad injury week 8, it could spiral. I don't know. They've really this season has been like their seasons have been on the brink of collapse 2 years in a row, and they really had these dramatic turnarounds. May not go down that way this year.
It's possible they don't. It's very unlikely. I would never bet that they're going to miss the playoffs.
Let's look at 2020 real quick. You're right. I wouldn't bet on it either. But in 2020, okay, they went 6-10 that year. They started off 4-3. Isn't that interesting?
They went backwards.
They were 4-3 in 2020. So there's this critical point the Niners reach right around week 7, week 8, right around the trade deadline, where they're sort of treading water. They don't know who they are, and they either tank or they get really hot. So they tanked in 2020. They had a bunch of injuries. Last 2 years, Debo went crazy. Brock went crazy. Yeah, Caffrey.
What if the 49ers didn't trade for CMC last year? How far would they have gotten?
If they didn't trade for CMC last year, they could have had a 2020 year. It could have been 6-10. See what I'm saying?
It's crazy to think about.
And it's also interesting. What is the move the Niners what move are the Niners gonna make at the trade deadline this year? Because that is their signature. They're not done yet. They make an all-in move during the season once they assess what they got and what the rest of the league has. What are they gonna do? Is that the thing at right tackle? Is it like we'll give McKivitz a shot, but if it ain't working, we'll trade for someone? Because if they do that, then that changes everything.
Yeah. And the schedule this year is tough. It is a tough schedule. So we'll see what happens, man. But, the tough schedule may work in their favor come playoff time. Because if they're used to playing these tough teams throughout the season, they might be ready for them more when the playoffs come along.
They had a lot of travel they had to do in 2021. I did it with them. It was exhausting. Niner fans are going to get shocked. No conference game. No conference. Oh, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if the Niners don't make the NFC Championship game. Will Niner fans finally get upset, or will they be like, look, I mean, can't do it every year? Seems like it's always an excuse. Careful if you face the Hawks in the playoffs again. That team looks better this year. And I don't think Geno is a one-year wonder. I think he's good. He was the number one. If you look at his deep throws that he threw last year, it's like
the best.
They were like and one mixtape stuff. Yeah.
The best in the NFL. Yeah.
Yep. All right, that's the show. It's the whole show and nothing but the show. Thank you very much, Ryan. You streaming again today?
No, tomorrow Croc's coming on the channel at 10 a.m.
That's what's up. Make sure you guys check that out. Thanks for watching. I'll be back later. See y'all.